Okay, here's another. Yeah, I want to do another report on Jill Stein. I want to remind everybody that if they want Jill Stein to win, or they want her to debate, she could possibly get enough momentum by being in the main debate between the two major candidates. Because, like I say, if she gets in that debate, Debbie Wasserman Schultz can't shove her off to the middle of the night, the way she did with Sanders. And the corporate media can't shut her up either. She's going to be on there, and whether the corporate media likes it or not. And the way she could get on the debate, and remember that 15% rule is there of by and for corporate America to keep Perot out of the debate. That's the only reason that 15% rule is there. That has to do with the major polling. 50% of the major polls to be in a debate, for a candidate to be in the debate. And the real way that she can get in there is with a whole lot of campaign money, because that gets her message out, and with a negative campaigning, and it puts her platform so everybody is aware of it. But but the main thing you can do to help her is give her campaign money from the 99%, and she won't take it from the 1%. But also want to talk. Main thing I want to talk about is Black Lives Matter. I mean, Will Smith brought out just a while back that the Black Lives. He liked the fact that people are getting their cameras going on police, so everybody knows exactly what happened. The whole world watches it, and it's put a lot on the table. The way he stated it, we put a lot on the table. The Black Lives Matter. And if you want to put a lot more on the table, the best way for you to do that, if you really want to do it, is give for you Black Lives Matter people, because the one focusing on Black Lives Matter is Jill Stein. So, and she needs your campaign money. And if you want to keep this stuff on the table, like Will Smith said, that's the way to do it. And the other two aren't. I like Trump, but I'll admit he's not very good on this issue. And I don't think Hillary is either, but I'm not sure. I know Jill Stein is, and Jill Stein's arguments, she said, first of all, we need a community review board so that we make sure that if police commit, second-degree murder on somebody, or involuntary manslaughter, or voluntary manslaughter, where what it usually is, voluntary manslaughter, they get charged with it. And they have to be composed of independent third parties. In other words, unaffected witnesses. And she said we need to stop the racial bias in courts. And we need to stop the Republican Party's war on drugs, which means 30-year sentences for drug offenses. We need to treat drug addiction as a disease and a compulsion and not a crime. We need to create a system where communities control the police instead of the other way around. And I go a little farther than that. I think we need to make the ACLU stronger, so they investigate every complaint, not just every third complaint. You have to have 3 complaints a lot of times for the ACLU to do anything. I've called the ACLU several times on police. I don't like police. The Black Lives Matter has helped the white race too. I don't like them any better than they do, and I don't like getting stopped, for waiting too long on a green. That makes you madder when there's no law anywhere in the Nebraska State Statute book that says you can't wait too long on a green. Nothing makes you madder when they say, well, it looks suspicious. Nothing makes you madder. And it makes me afraid to drive at night, and because you figure you might get in a verbal argument with them or something and end up getting shot. So, also I want to say, I should go to another point, but if you want to keep this, like I say, all these things on the table, and to get it in the national debate, Jill Stein, you got to give her campaign money so she get in the national debate, and that's not going to be easy to do, unfortunately. But when I was a kid, we had an assembly in high school or grade school. Back then, when I was a kid, the space program was real popular. Everything was about the future, space and the future, because it was the onset of the space program. First time we ever been on the moon, first time we ever went to space and all that. And we had a whole lot of kids wanted to work for NASA. We had a guy come in from NASA and talk to us that worked for NASA. And he said, well, everybody wants to be involved in it, but he said there's one major drawback to it, and that is that if you make one mistake, you forget to do one little thing, or you do one little thing which could injure the astronauts in any way, shape, or form, you are fired. And I thought, why shouldn't this be the same thing for police? There's no logical argument anywhere where anyone can make a case against that. And we had there's a Nebraska state senator who I would support for president. He'd be real good in the Green Party or the Independent Party, working in there because he's a real progressive. And he was his name's Ernie Chambers. He's a black Nebraska state senator, and he's real smart. And I wish he was on the TV more often. And he was trying to get a law passed a long time ago there were state law that college football players had to be paid because they're exploited. I mean, they do all the work, and the big fat cats make all the money off of them, make millions of dollars off of them. Well, and then they don't use their education. And but he'd be a real good progressive. But he had made the statement in the Nebraska state legislature and compared the police with ISIS. Well, the only thing which you can make that case, there was another Nebraska state senator. It was a white guy that was the right that told him that he should resign immediately. Well, the only thing is, where I object to him, he didn't bring out the fact that some police are hard-working people and they're good faith, and they're always between a rock and a hard place. They have the public on one side, and then the side of right is usually on the other side. And so they're always facing dilemmas constantly. It's not an easy job, and Chambers should have given credit. And there are some police forces that are pretty fair to people. Johnson City, Tennessee had one of the most fair police forces I'd ever seen. They're fair, they're honest. If you make a mistake, you get a ticket, and if you haven't made one, they don't stop you. But and as far as I know, there's no racism. There could be, I don't know, but at least I hadn't seen any. But the point I'm trying to make. There was a Mexican that lived in Lincoln, Nebraska. And that's where Ernie Chambers lives. It's Lincoln, Nebraska. And this was back in the 90s, right after the Rodney King incident. Right after it, and he was just walking down the street, and a bunch of policemen started running at him. Well, he just came out of Mexico, and down in Mexico, they'll kill you. The police are corrupt, and so he saw him coming and absolutely struggled with him. He was scared of him, thought they were going to kill him. Well, they ended up killing him. Well, this is right where Ernie Chambers lives. Well, who's more apt? What's the question you have to ask? Are there any laws in place right now where if that same Mexican walked down the street, there would be laws in place in the Nebraska government that would protect him from being killed? And the answer is probably not. Well, then how can you blame Ernie Chambers for calling the police ISIS? What do we have 100% safeguard that if someone did think the way ISIS did, that became a policeman, that he couldn't pull someone over and shoot him and argue it was just poor training and get away with it scot-free and pull another black guy over and shoot him? There needs to be. And so if there is not 100% safeguard, then Ernie Chambers needs to be calling the police ISIS. Because because of these reasons, because people are getting killed. What's more important? Is making a controversial statement or protecting someone's life? And I'm more on the Ernie Chambers' side. But what we need to do, there needs to be, 100%. And, Ernie Chambers is violating. The man that told him he needed to, after he made the statement, another white state senator told him he needed to resign. Well, the white state senator apparently doesn't the problem with him is he hasn't read the Bible. It's like I say, conservatives always bring up the Bible. They know the commandments better than the Democrat Party. They've read all of them, and they always argue the Democrat can only name about 3 of them. Well, the conservatives have read them, and they've been to church, but they didn't read very well. Because there's a commandment that I always bring up that says, "Thou shalt have no other gods before God." You think, well, so basically that tells you that police are on the same level as everyone else, and so does the Declaration of Independence, where it says all men are created equal. So why should Ernie Chambers be, resign? When why should police be on any different level than anyone else? And the Bible says they shouldn't. And so and people would ask, well, why would the Bible tell you to disrespect police? Well, it doesn't really say that. You just don't put them as God. And there's a good reason why you don't put them as God. Because when you do, and that's why it's in the Bible, because when you do start putting other people as God, the people get killed and nothing gets done about it. And that's why society doesn't put laws against police. And that's why there are no laws, that federal laws or anything else that stop police from killing people and making sure they get charged with voluntary manslaughter, involuntary, or or second-degree murder or murder, whatever it is. One of those things, just the way everyone else does. And they'll always argue, and people that are dogmatic and have read the Bible argue, well, they put their lives on the line every day for us. Well, actually, coal mining and construction worker and and what's the other one? Farming. They're all more dangerous than being a police officer. They put their lives on the line, and people need food's a necessity. So they're essentially putting their life. So can a farmer run a red light and kill somebody and get away with it just because he puts his life on the line every day? That's what someone needs to ask that state senator. So why won't we, let them off for involuntary manslaughter or whatever else they committed? They get drunk and kill somebody. Why don't we let them off? Hey, they're a farmer. They put their life on the line every day for us. It's just not an argument. And so Sanders is a smarter one. And he's the one that's in line with the Declaration of Independence. And he's the one that's in line with the Bible. And that state senator needs to go back. The white state senator needs to go back and read the Bible again. But anyway, the main point of all that is for me to get my 2 cents worth in, of course. But mainly, and I'd go a little farther than Jill Stein on it, but Jill Stein's the main one that talks about Black Lives Matter more than anyone else. And if you want it all on the table, and you want it in a national debate, and get her on national TV where Debbie Wasserman can't shut her up, you need to give Jill Stein campaign money. And you're helping the white race as much as the black race, because the police are a threat to the white race too. And so I guess, and thanks for listening. I think that's all I got to say on that.